So what is Behat? So Behat is a open source BDD framework which is in PHP and which is specially designed for PHP applications. Okay. Why was it designed? It was designed to reduce the communication gap between technical and non-technical people. Okay. So basically it follows a BDD process. BDD process is like you are implementing any given expected business scenario into a testing perspective. Suppose on a Amazon site, I'm trying to add a product to the cart, okay, and later the product which is added should be displayed in the cart. Such scenarios are distinguished in a very human readable format. Like I'm on the product page, okay, and I'm adding the product to the cart, and once the product is added to the cart, the product should be displayed in the cart, and later I should follow the checkout process. So this human, it's in the simple language. So this simple language was just implemented in the form of feature files, and later this can be automated and it can be tested, like to check, like suppose our requirement is to make sure the product is added to the cart and make sure it is working as per that requirement. So BX was basically built for PHP applications. And why, the question will rise, like why it was built for PHP applications? Because it 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 has extensions and it is very easy to configure with PHP application. Or you can take talk about Drupal, which is built in PHP, so it's very easy to configure with Drupal as well. So as mentioned, it allows us to test PHP application using human readable sentences, and it also describes us the expected behavior of the application from user's perspective. So now BDD. BDD full form is like behavior driven development. It's nothing like we describe the behavior of the website. I'm on my Make My Trip website or any booking website. Want to book a ticket for a movie show or a ticket for a flight. That is a business requirement. Now this is implemented in the testing perspective, or it is even implemented by the developers to make sure that so and so business requirement are matched. Okay. So this BDD driven development process is nothing but to improve the collaboration between developers, testers, and stakeholders to ensure that that software meets that business requirement, or to ensure that the system is built according to the implementation details.
So as seen, we have seen what is Behat and BDD. Let's dive a bit deeper and understand what is the Gherkin language. So as you can see on the screen, it is a basic plain text language that uses a structured format to describe features and scenarios. So the main USP of this language is it can be understood by everybody on the team, all the stakeholders, that is the product owner, the technical analyst, the QA developers, and everybody. And this is something that anybody can generate and anybody can understand. And this is one of the main reasons why this is used. So as you can see on the screen, we have an example scenario that is a failed login with invalid password. So I'll just go for it. Given I am on the login page, when I enter my valid username and I enter an invalid password and I click the login button, then I should see an error message. But I should not be redirected to my profile page. So as you can see, it is so simple to understand. Anybody on the team, even if they're reading it for the first time, will understand what exactly is this particular scenario doing. And if we go on the next slide, we will see a small example again for the BI text example. And here you can see an incorrect login. So when reading this, given I'm on the login page and I enter a valid username, and for reference, the username is being pulled by the data that we have been giving. So as you can see, the username, the password, and the message is also set. So when this test is run, the system will check and will see what the invalid password is and match it. So as you can see, the incorrect login, given I'm on the login page, when I enter the valid username and I enter an invalid password and I click the login button, then I should see an error message. So a simple and a basic Behat text example. And if we go on the next slide, we'll see what runs this Behat test. So the Gherkin language can be read by humans, but what about computers? How will you define these steps? And that is the answer what we get with the step definitions. It is been defined here. So as you can see, given I'm on the login page, this has been pulled from the Gherkin language, and we are defining what exactly is this step doing. As you can see, the public function, I'm on the login page, this visit login. So this function basically is used to visit the login page, and it can be reused in the future as well. Now we'll see a small reference as to how the step definitions are generated so easily with Behat. So as you'll be able to see in the video, we'll be firstly enabling the feature file. This is the Kotlin language, which is set up already with the test data. Okay. And now the test is run. Behat understands what it matches the Gherkin language to the step definition. It's called pattern matching. And as you can see, you will be able to see the step definitions which are generated by itself from Behat. So as you can see, it's so simple and easy to understand. Okay. Going further, we'll also see the reporting structure and how easy it is to understand the reports like which is generated from Behat itself. So if we use a few extensions, we'll be able to see, we'll be able to integrate and understand what exactly is happening here. So if you see here, we are running 4 features and one of the features are failed. Okay, and 4 steps have been failed out of 7, which is something all the stakeholders in the team will be easily able to understand. Now, without wasting any more time, let's go and understand a small demo and see the implementation of Behat.
Uh, we had copied that step definition, and I've mentioned all the step definitions here. Okay. So yeah, as you can see, I'm following the basic page object model format. Okay. If I go here to the context file is nothing but interface. Yes, SJ context. I created a context file which implements this context. This is a interface which is related to Behat. Okay, and it's actually where we define a condition like preconditions like what are the this like the what page classes will be put here and what the path, everything is defined here. So for now, for example, I mentioned like SJ login page. Okay, so we took an example of like a polling site, and we'll see like when I try to be on that page, when I try to enter a correct username and I try to enter an incorrect password, it should throw a error message. So here I've defined the page object I've created here. Then I go to the framework where I define all my step definitions. So you can see here, given I'm on the login page, and when I enter the valid username, and okay, and these are the acts, like what actions, like it sends keys to that email field, like the username field, or it sends text to the password field. Okay, and it clicks on the button, and this is the validation. So all these acts are defined under the acts file, and the get is like you can get the page title and all that. Hooks is like if you want to configure with the emulators and all that, all configuration is put there or before the browser uh, hits the run or the session is created, you want to generate and you put a default timeout, and any if you want to run it in headless headed mode, that all definitions are put there. Okay, then here in page we put all our selectors, like for that username we have removed the email selector, we have added here. For password we have added here. For login city we have added here, and for error message we have added this. Okay, so it's a simple login page where there's a username field, there's a password field, there's login cta, and there's a message which is pop up once we click on the login cta. So suppose I run it in headless mode. So it says that given I'm on the login page, I enter the username, password. I click on the login button. I should see an error message. Okay. Now I switch on to the report. So if I click here, I click on this, it mentions like expected test is your email or password are incorrect. The text from the page is email, password are incorrect. Suppose I want to fill that scenario. Okay. Can just go login feature. Just edit this. Okay. Yes. Field asserting that false is true. And now if I move on to my report, click here. Text not valid, field asserting that false is also. So this is how these reports are generated, and it can be shared to our stakeholders or non-technical people. They can just come, read their business requirements and see if their software or website is built according to that requirement. So yeah, so this is all about the demo. And if you guys have any question, do post it in the chat and we'll get back to you. Okay, so then we'll switch to the drawbacks and the advantages mostly.
So as you can see on the screen, there are a few and many advantages of Behat. The first, as we have already seen, it uses Gherkin language, which is very easy to understand and according to me is one of the best USPs of using Behat. It can be understood by even technical and non-technical members. Secondly, we can see the integration with Drupal. So Behat has a very good integration with Drupal through the Drupal extension, as we have seen in the video before, how it provides pre-built step definitions for common Drupal testing scenarios, which in the end will save time and effort, and in the long run save cost as well for writing these custom step definitions for Drupal specific functionality. Thirdly, we'll see the code reusability. So as you can see, Behat test can be easily reused. So for example, when you're automating the login page, right? And the user has to come on the login page at least 5 times to test different scenarios. That exact code can be reused many times to understand and to use it in the future as well. Thirdly, we'll see regression testing. As you can see, we have shared the reports with you and how easy it is to understand. So Behat test can be used for regression testing, which helps ensure that changes to the code base are not do not introduce new bugs in the future, which can save a lot of cost. And the fifth point will be cost effective. As you know, Behat is open source and free, making it an affordable testing solution for small organizations. So in the start, many organizations do not spend a lot of time and money on testing. And if they have a lot of tests, say for example, 1,000 or 1,500 tests that have to be run monthly, for something of that sort to be done manually will cost a lot of money and time. So this is where something like Behat comes in, and which maybe small organization in the start can use it, and ensure that their software is bug free. And lastly, we have continuous integration. So Behat can be easily integrated with CI tools like Jenkins and Travis CI, so allowing tests to be run automatically with every code change. So now, as we have discussed the advantages of Behat, but with every tool, as you know, there are drawbacks, and Behat has its drawbacks as well. So we'll get into that. So as you can see on the screen, we have limited test suite management. So Behat's test suite management capabilities can be limited compared to other testing frameworks. This is mainly and particularly for large and complex projects. Secondly, we have slow execution time. Behat has, in our experience, a slow execution time compared to other testing frameworks, especially when the test suite is quite large. And if it requires a complex setup, then it causes a lot of issue as well. This might maybe impact overall efficiency and productivity. Limited test reporting is the third drawback. While Behat provides clear and concise reports, the reports as you have seen on the screen, maybe they will tell the user and the end user what is happening. But if you want to go in detail and understand exactly where the test is failing, on what step, and that time there might be sometimes it might be a big drawback for the end user. And fourthly, if we have discussed when we have discussed in the earlier slide that Behat is mainly used with PHP application. Now, Behat can also be used with other applications as well, but it might, as it does not work well as much as with PHP. If you're doing it with PHP, it is one of the best applications, one of the best frameworks that you can use for testing your application. And fifth, we have dependency management. So Behat requires several dependencies to be installed and configured properly, which can sometimes lead to conflicts, versions, or compatibility issues with other dependencies. So now these are some of the drawbacks that Behat has, but as per our knowledge and experience, we have seen that many frameworks in the market have their own drawbacks, have their own set of drawbacks and advantages. It's what you will choose for your project, which will work best for you in the future. And it is something that will work best with your needs. So for example, with maybe Selenium will work well for some projects, Behat will work well with other projects.